What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So we do of course have some brand new Spider-Man Miles Morales gameplay, but this time showing something really cool in terms of hidden details in the stealth gameplay, with a suit that I have to say is easily in my top 3, and that suit is the tracksuit. But I do want you guys to let me know in the comments below as well what your favorite suit is. But let's try and crush 4 likes and go ahead and click that big red subscribe button below if you haven't already, because hey, it's just a really cool thing to do. So let's dive into this video, and I want to start off with what we got the other day, which was also new gameplay, but what it showed was really cool because it was Miles just being able to web swing around with a cat in his backpack and even do some takedowns with the cat. And it's safe to say that that gameplay specifically has everyone talking. I mean, there's been so much memes since that gameplay went live, and again, it's just one of those random things that get added into the game, but if you actually go back to the whole comic side of things and so forth, there's references, so it kind of makes sense. But it's one of those cool little miniature details that Insomniac Games did add, which I think is really cool. But what we got yesterday, which was basically just over a minute or so, right, showed how incredible this game really is. And just a quick side note, the more gameplay that we are seeing for this game, I just keep thinking to myself, like, how we are just so far away from Miles just being an expansion, okay, because that's what we all know people were calling this game before all the gameplay, and people were complaining about the price tag and so forth, saying, well, no, it is basically just a DLC, it's an expansion. If it's got only 10 hours worth of gameplay in terms of a story, is it really, you know, a standalone game? But the more gameplay we keep seeing, the more I'm just like, this is a complete different game. It's even better when you realize that this is not even Spider-Man 2 as well. That's also something that I think is really cool to take into consideration, right? So Insomniac Games have definitely pulled it off again with this. Now, nonetheless, the gameplay caught my attention with something small, and it's basically how Miles was throwing his punches. Now, I know you're probably thinking, okay, why is this important to you, and why do you care, and why should everyone else care? Well, the reason I have brought this up is because we already know that, well, Miles is not experienced as Spider-Man, right? The whole story is essentially him learning how to be Spider-Man, how to be Miles Morales in that perspective, and be just as good as a hero. Now, the reason I bring up the punches is because we will basically be able to tell how he's just not experienced, but how he's not fluent as a whole with moving around, like with web swinging. We already know that, right? But with this particular gameplay, which I'll show you guys on screen now, the scene I'm talking about, in this short little scene, you can see the way he is throwing his punches just looks so inexperienced compared to Peter, of course, and this is great. This is what really caught my eye, and I'm guessing when you look back on all the other gameplays and you look for small miniature details, you'll probably be able to find some really cool things, right? But with this, is cool because of course you can see him do all the cool takedowns before, etc., which all look great, but it's an incredible touch that Insomniac have made to just basically keep reminding us, the player, that hey, Miles is still inexperienced, right? And this is still a learning curve for him just as much as it is us, for example, when we get to playing a character in the game. So for me, this is what I think is going to completely switch the way we play this game, but in a good way, and I want you guys to get in the comments below and leave your thoughts on that stuff. Now, to add to that, they did also have some small references as well, with Miles talking just as he's basically going through the mission, and a good touch was when he said another one bites the dust. I think the character making references or talking in general is actually key, as at least for me anyway, right? So it doesn't just get too boring and feel repetitive. So I think communication with a character, just making these small, or I guess small talk is what it is, right, is really key, and Insomniac did nail this. Now, in regards to the gadgets, okay, so in the gadget we do see of course the gadget wheel, and from what I could tell, all the gadgets do look great as far as we can tell. Now, one that really caught my eye was the 2 Spider-Man gadget, I guess you could say, but I am assuming that this might just be, I guess, holograms like in Spider-Man PS4, which was actually a suit power, where of course you just, I guess, you flick the switch essentially, and you've got your holographic, whatever you want to call it, your Spider-Man, and that's set there to confuse enemies, etc. So it could just simply be that, which I think is actually more than likely going to be the situation. However, this is a long shot, okay, but what if this was instead I guess in like certain scenarios where if you click this power or gadget, whatever you want to call it, you now have Peter come in to help you for like 15 seconds or so. Now, I know it's a long shot, like I said, it's a very, very long shot, but I think it would actually be really cool, considering we know that of course you can go through the whole training process with Peter Parker, etc, etc. Like, this is all stuff we've already seen, right? We know we're going to be able to do. So I think it would be really cool if it could kind of reverse, because don't forget, in Spider-Man PS4 we had Miles basically do some missions with us as well. So being able to, you know, kind of reflect it again but in a different scenario, and instead have the real Spider-Man come in and help you, and then you can maybe just make certain references like that's how you want to be, and essentially you don't want to keep calling in for help. I think that would be really cool, but like I said, it's definitely a long shot. But what is cool with the whole situation, and we have been talking about it for a while, and I mean a lot of people are talking about this, and we're really hoping that it's going to be in Spider-Man 2, but that is the co-op aspect of things, right? Now, being honest, with a game like this, considering we know they nailed the first Spider-Man game, right? It doesn't need to have a multiplayer experience. Like, it's, I guess, just actual evidence that, hey, single player games are still just as fun with or without a multiplayer option. But when it comes down to this, just seeing already with gameplay that has already been revealed, it feels like the possibilities with Peter Parker would be really, really endless and cool as a whole. But I really do think that a co-op feature in Spider-Man 2 would really make this franchise, series, whatever you want to call it, because don't forget, I guess you could say since the Spider-Man PS4 version, that was the first kind of introductory scene, game, whatever you want to call it, to, I guess, better the superhero gaming scene, right? And that really, really made it stamp. So I think if Spider-Man 2 has co-op, that it could really take this game to a complete different level and just keep going on from there, and ultimately in like years to come it would be just huge. Like, there are so many different types of game modes that you can even make if it was to go, you know, not saying it has to fully be online or multiplayer, I'm still saying a single player, you know, narrative, a story, whatever you want to call it, but with the multiplayer option, I feel like this game anyway so far is just showing how fun it could actually be. But I do want you guys to get in the comments below and definitely leave your thoughts on that. But that's going to wrap up this video here. So as always, subscribe for more awesome content if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. But till then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day, and until the next one, adios amigos.